Hello， 大家好，欢迎来到这期视频。今天呢，我们来聊 ARK 投资的最新一期播客音频。主持嘉宾呢是 Cathie Wood 本人。Cathie Wood 对最新的美国就业报告做了自己的观点阐述。另外，对美股的周五大跌，他给出了自己的一个完整的解释。按照老规矩，我们把 Cathie Wood 的观点做拆解。那我们就话不多说，直接开始。第一个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是美国的最新的就业报告，很强，但是为什么市场并不买账，甚至在周五的时候还发生了下跌。Cathie Wood 说，就业报告非常强，但是市场却大跌。我们认为市场看错了，这份报告显示出美国经济正在进入繁荣区域。解释一下，首先，美国的就业数据很好，市场的大跌并不是一个趋势反转。Cathie Wood 强调，这是市场看错了，或者说这是一个高位的震荡。如果单从就业数据来看，为什么美股大跌？这个呢，其实是一个很惯性的旧的市场思维，就是美国的就业很好，那么这个时候大家担心的是什么？就是美国的通胀可能会上升，所以呢，美联储有可能会因为通胀这个因素而缩紧它的政策，这个时候呢，股市呢就会有下跌的这样的一个借口。另外一个原因就是在开始我所提到的，就是美股呢它在一个相对的高位，任何一点风吹草动都可能带来价格的剧烈波动。其实我对 Cathie Wood 的这个观点还是相对来说认可的。为什么？因为这个绝对不是美股走熊的一个趋势反转，而真的只是消息面叠加技术面的一个急速的震荡。OK， 我们再来看第二个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是什么？第二个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是美联储新任主席凯文沃什的供给侧思维。Cathie Wood 说，新任美联储主席凯文沃什更偏供给侧。凯文沃什并不相信强增长一定带来通胀，所以我们认为他会支持增长。解释一下 Cathie Wood 的这句话。他说，凯文沃什呢和传统的美联储官员的想法是不一样的。这个传统的美联储官员呢，可能比如说鲍威尔。Cathie Wood 想说的是，如果美国的企业生产效率大幅提升，那美国的经济即使增长得很快，美联储也并不一定非要去做任何的紧缩动作。换句话说，经济的大幅增长并不一定会引发通胀。就比如说一个工厂，过去一天只能做100个杯子，现在机器人和 AI 普及之后，可能一天能做300个，订单呢会增加1倍。那对于企业来说，它毫不费力的就增加了产能，而且并不会去涨价，甚至还有可能因为技术的变革把产品降价。这就是凯文沃什的供给侧思维的一个核心，也是 Cathie Wood 在播客中所提到的，就是靠提升效率实现增长，而不是单纯的靠压低需求来控制通胀。大家可以回想一下，其实历任美联储主席包括鲍威尔，他们的策略可能偏向于传统的或者是老的办法，就是控制需求来压低社会的通胀。但是呢，在 AI 和人工智能包括机器人大爆发的时候，过去的老的处理方式确实可能会发生一些变化，但是发生变化的时间节点有待观察。第三个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是通胀可能会下行。Cathie Wood 说，通胀会惊喜的下行，甚至今年可能会转负。生产率提升让企业能够降价，同时石油的价格已经见顶。解释一下， Cathie Wood 认为 AI 正在大幅的提高生产率，美国企业赚钱的能力变强之后，不需要靠涨价来维持利润，而是可以选择降价去抢市场。加上油价可能会见顶，所以呢，他判断美国的通胀不但不会起来，反而可能会往下走，甚至出现负的。这里呢，解释一下，其实 Cathie Wood 想表达的是，美国的经济可能会出现所有人都梦寐以求的又增长又呢低通胀。这样子呢，美联储它就有更大的一个施政的空间，换句话说，它就可以更加宽松一些。那么对美国的股市，它一定是一个正向的。所以呢，目前 Cathie Wood 还是从一个宏观的角度来说，它是更看重这种技术变革 带来美联储的一个决策的变化，带来美国股市的一个长期牛市。OK， 我们继续。Cathie Wood 聊到的第4个是美元的死亡螺旋。Cathie Wood 说，美元的死亡螺旋叙事是错误的。我们预计美元今年会走强，因为美国投资回报率更高。这里解读一下，其实对于美元的走强或者是美元会完蛋这种双方对立的观点在市场上不停的被提及，但是 Cathie Wood 他一直很坚定的看好美元，就是对市场上那些说美元要完蛋的这种观点，他的观点是很坚决的，而且在多次播客中都有提到，他说这种是完全错误的想法。Cathie Wood 认为美国通过减税，包括吸引全球的资本回流，美元不但不会崩，而且会走强，这对美股也是好事，因为钱在往美国回流，资产的价格就很容易被资金给撑起来。第5个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是资本开支突破了持续30年的平台期。Cathie Wood 说，美国的资本开支突破了持续30年的平台期，开始向上爆发，制造业投资在大增， AI 基础设施也在大增，并且 AI 基础设施就是主要的推动力。解释一下， Cathie Wood 最兴奋的一个长期信号也被他多次提及，就是在过去30年美国企业一直不太愿意大笔的花钱去投资，现在呢这些企业正在开始发生变化，他们开始去花更多的钱搞 AI 基础设施。举个例子啊，这就有点像原来30年可能大家都没有什么值得投资的事儿，但是 AI 来了，美国的这些企业啊，包括美国的资本好像发现了一个救命稻草一样，就是大家都很看好的时候就开始把钱去投入做 AI。 当然这个会带来一个双面的作用，也就是说 AI 如果能够落地，并且 AI 能够提升生产力，那么这个投入一定会有回报。相反，如果在这个过程中 AI 并没有真正的带来生产力革命，或者说在带来生产力革命的时候这个时间过长，都会带来很大的波动和不确定性。这个呢，所有人还是要有一个2个方向的思维。第6个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是美国的实时通胀其实已经在下行，收益率曲线正在走平。 Cathie Wood 说，美国的实时通胀指标已经大幅下行，收益率曲线走平甚至在收窄，这说明美国的债券市场已经看到了结构的通缩的力量。解释一下，虽然现在的油价呢还在一个上涨的阶段，但是美国的债券市场已经开始走平甚至是在收窄，这就是因为 AI 带来通缩这种预期正在增强，所以呢这种长期的利率呢会下行。 Cathie Wood 他想表达的是什么呢？这对美联储来说是一个好的一个消息，就是说美联储呢它降息的空间就可能有了，并且呢就是有利于一些成长股的这种估值的抬升。因为降息会带来流动性，那么的话一些处于成长期的这种企业成长股，他们就有了这个资金的注入。第7个也是最后一个 Cathie Wood 聊到的是 AI 基础设施正在推动美国的生产率爆发。 Cathie Wood 说，美国的 AI 基础设施推动美国的资本开支大增，生产率接近 3%， 美国正在进入繁荣期。 Cathie Wood 始终在强调的一个观点就是 AI 并不是短期的炒作的题材，而是真正能够大幅提升生产率的长期的引擎。现在美国的资本开支已经爆发，生产率呢也提高了接近 3%。 他认为美国的经济可能正在进入一个长期的繁荣期。这个观点其实我觉得它也可以理解成如果从宏观角度上来说，你看好 AI 带来的生产率革命，那么时间拉长的话，这种波动应该都是可以忍受的。但是如果说你对 AI 所带来的这种革命是犹豫的，那么短期的这种价格波动，尤其是在高位时候的任何一种消息的带来的剧烈波动，说实话对于普通人来说都是挺煎熬的。 OK， 以上呢就是 Cathie Wood 在这期播客中的他的一些核心观点。整体来说呢，他的态度还是非常明确的，市场看错了方向，周五的下跌呢也是一个短暂的技术调整， AI 呢会带来生产率提升，未来大家要看的是经济走向而不是短炒。结尾是整理后的 Cathie Wood 的原声音频，然后呢有中文翻译，感兴趣的朋友可以继续去听。
Greetings everyone. It is Employment Friday. And what an Employment Friday this is. Beautiful employment report. This economy is moving into boom territory. We've been talking about this for a while, but the markets are plummeting. What the heck is going on? Well, we think we have the answer. I think it has to do with Kevin Warsh, our new Fed chairman, who is not saying anything, at least not yet. And maybe he won't until June 17th, which is when the Fed announces its next interest rate decision. So we've got roughly 12 days. I do hope he says something in the meantime. He may not. But if I understand who he is, he has much more of a supply side policy bent. And he does not believe that strong employment and strong growth is bad news. In fact, people who do believe that adhere to something called the Phillips curve. When growth goes up, they think inflation goes up as well. And that's just not true. In fact, the most vibrant growth periods have been associated with much lower than expected inflation. Why? Because of productivity. And I think the same thing is going to prove true now. But we have a bunch of hawks on the Fed, and they may not be talking as much as they did under Chairman Powell. And I think Kevin Warsh is going to stymie that a bit because it just causes volatility unnecessarily. But they are out there whispering. And so a lot of people are afraid they're going to make another interest rate decision that is not conducive to growth and lower inflation. And believe it or not, that would be higher interest rates. Now, we think that where this all will end is a clear understanding, and we'll show you in charts what's going on. It's clear what's going on, that productivity is driving this economy. So here on the dollar, how high will the DXY get this year? Again, the way this reads, it could be on average for this year. What we meant was any time this year. Now, you can see Kalshi is betting or is predicting 101.9, which is down from where it was, roughly 103. But you can see here where the dollar is. It's a little above 99. So Kalshi, or the prediction markets, are expecting an appreciation in the dollar, despite all of the narratives out there that the dollar is in a death spiral. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but a lot of forecasters predicting the dollar continuing to go down, and you can see here it is actually stabilized, continuing to go down because of whether it's the end of American exceptionalism or our twin deficits, the budget deficit and the trade deficit. But if we are right, the dollar will turn up decisively this year as the impact of the tax package, which started last year, filters through into booming economic activity, and the returns on invested capital in the United States continue to go up relative to those in the rest of the world. Now, one other thing I'll say about the dollar here. High energy prices typically help the dollar, and so it should have stabilized, if not have gone up, because oil is priced in dollars for the most part. So that didn't happen, and we have to recognize that. But look what is also happening on the other side of that. Here are the holdings of Treasury securities by countries in the world. We have China, Japan, and India. And we also have Turkey. Turkey's in the green. And I saw the headline a couple of weeks ago which said, after 08, 09, the Fed, the banks were pretty lenient when it came to lending, encouraged by the Fed. And as we were trying to come out of the tech and telecom bust and the 08-09 crisis. Now what's happening is the private credit drama is, I guess what I'll say, is causing more conservatism. So we're not seeing the seeds of excessive monetary growth from the banking system. We're also looking at the yield curve, the 10-year versus the 2-year yield, we've been watching for this ever since we saw this measure of the yield curve stop at 150 basis points after COVID. We said, wait a minute, what does this mean? It didn't get back up into that 200 to 300 basis point range that we've seen in past cycles when monetary and fiscal authorities around the world have put their foot to the accelerator. It is starting to come down from a peak of 70 this time. What does that mean? Does the long bond yield see some deflationary undercurrents brewing out there? Because it's not baking in either the oil price, which you see here, up 55%. If long bond yields thought that this was going to cause a secular increase in inflation, bond yields would be much higher than they are now. If bond yields thought that this recent increase in commodity prices was going to lead to an inflationary spiral, we would not see the yield curve flattening now. What is happening here? The oil price surge, definitely because of Iran. And now we have, I think Venezuela has increased its production in the UAE. Just in case we run into another supply shock, I am going to build inventories. We think that's partly what's going on here. And then, of course, the other big development, continuing development, is the AI infrastructure boom. And it is creating a ripple effect throughout the manufacturing sector. Here, as you can see, we've broken out of, in the tech and telecom bubble, we went to a high and we had trouble breaking through it until recently. And now we're out. If this were a stock, you'd say, we've broken out. We had a little cup and saucer, or whatever that would be called technically, and we're on our way. We're on our way. Because, why? Because this investment is paying off amazingly. So, XAI, now SpaceX AI, has, to the best of our ability to discern this from SpaceX's S1, Brett Winton has done incredible work on this, along with Frank Downing and Joseph on our AI team. We believe that SpaceX AI built Colossus 1 and 2. I'm not going to get this exactly right, but for roughly $30 billion. And Anthropic is renting it out effectively for $1.25 billion per month, $15 billion a year. And the numbers may be even higher than that. So think about that. They invested $30 billion, and Anthropic is, in 1 year going to return half of that investment. That's mind-blowing. And so that's why I think that SpaceX AI was willing to rent it out. Anthropic was willing to pay, and XAI is reorganizing and restructuring. Here you can see tech spending, comparing it to where we were in the tech and telecom bubble. This is what scares a lot of people. We're almost there. And this is on a metric that Will Share, who put together this chart. It's around very tech-specific categories, hardware, software, maybe R&D as well. So we're up there, and yet we think We have miles to go. In the Industrial Revolution, CapEx as a percent of GDP went to somewhere in the 5 to 6% range. Right now, we're less than half of that, maybe the 2% range. And we think we could go into that 5 to 6% range. So don't let the tech and telecom bubble and bust scare you. That was too much capital chasing too few opportunities too soon. We didn't have the cloud, we didn't have the breakthroughs in AI, and everything was way too costly. That fiber laid stayed dark for decades. The GPUs today, as someone said, I don't know who said this, they're melting. They're in such short supply. Trade deficit, just to round out consumption, investment, inventories, and trade, that's what makes up GDP.